Turning now to the U.S. A congressional committee is hearing testimony this hour about the recent mass shootings in Uvalde and Buffalo. Legislators and advocates are making impassioned pleas on the need for gun reform. But the most compelling ones are coming from parents of victims and survivors themselves.
If given the opportunity, Lexi would have made a positive change in this world. She wanted to attend St. Mary's University in San Antonio, Texas, on a softball scholarship. She wanted to major in math and go on to attend law school. That opportunity was taken from her. She was taken from us. I left my daughter at that school, and that decision will haunt me for the rest of my life.
Do you feel safe at school? Why not?
Because I don't want it to happen again.
And you think it's going to happen again?
To the lawmakers who feel that we do not need stricter gun laws, let me paint a picture for you. My son, Zaire, has a hole in the right side of his neck, 2 on his back, and another on his left leg, caused by an exploding bullet from an AR-15. As I clean his wounds, I can feel pieces of that bullet in his back. Shrapnel will be left inside of his body for the rest of his life. Now I want you to picture that exact scenario for one of your children.
Occurring just 10 days apart, the mass shootings in Texas and New York have sparked a round of bipartisan talks. But they've been focused on modest goals, such as red flag laws and stricter background checks. Reporter Nick Harper is on the story. He joins us live from the U.S. Capitol. Nick, just some graphic testimony that we've been hearing. What else are we hearing today?
Yeah, Andrew, graphic, harrowing, heartbreaking testimony from parents, really bringing home the emotional and also the physical reality of gun violence. We had parents crying in the chamber on Capitol Hill, speaking about what happened to their children who were killed in gun violence events. One of the people we also heard from was the pediatrician in Uvalde, Texas, who was involved in treating some of the surviving children, but also trying to find the bodies of those 19 children that were killed in that school classroom and helping parents try to identify them. He went on to speak about exactly what bullets from assault rifles do to children's bodies when fired at close range. Let's listen.
2 children whose bodies have been pulverized by bullets fired at them, decapitated, whose flesh had been ripped apart, that the only clue as their identities was a blood-splattered cartoon clothes still clinging to them, clinging for life and finding none. I could only hope these 2 bodies were a tragic exception to the list of survivors. But as I waited there with my fellow Uvalde doctors, nurses, first responders, and hospital staff for other casualties we hope to save, they never arrived.
We also heard from 11-year-old Mia Cirillo. She was in the classroom and survived the attack. She watched her teacher being shot dead in the head. She then went on to play dead, going to extraordinary lengths to make sure that she wasn't detected by the gunman. Here's what she had to say.
He shot my friend that was next to me, and I thought he was going to come back to the room, so I grabbed the blood and put it all over me. And
What did you do then when you put the blood on yourself?
just stay quiet, and then I got my teacher's phone and called 911.
What did you tell 911?
I told her that we need help and to send the police.
So often these Capitol Hill hearings involve officials or politicians. There's often a lot of anger and frustration, but there's not normally this level of raw emotion that we heard during the course of these testimonies. Andrew?
Hearing from someone so young going through something so horrible. What about a possible gun deal? How likely is that?
Well, it's something that the White House and Democrats want to happen. They know that if they put forward gun legislation to the House of Representatives, it will pass. Democrats have the majority there. But they also know that they will have difficulties in the Senate. They need 10, at least, Republicans to join them to reach the 60-vote threshold that they would need to pass legislation. And that is why we've seen, over the course of the last week or two, these behind closed doors, very delicate negotiations going on between Democrats and Republicans, trying to to find some common ground, trying to find just really simple, modest measures that they agree on. So things like federal laws on how to safely store guns, things on like extra resources for mental health funding. It won't be the big top-line changes that the White House wants. President Biden has called for a ban on assault weapons, a ban on high-capacity magazines, and also asked for gun makers to be held accountable in mass shooting tragedies like these. Those type of things will not pass Congress as it currently stands, with that very divided line between Democrats and Republicans. But they are trying to find at least a little bit of unity on some small measures that they might be able to get passed. They seem to think that they might be able to get a deal done by the end of this week, but those negotiations still ongoing, and whatever they do come out with is likely to be only very modest. Andrew?
Nick, thank you. Reporter Nick Harper, live in Washington. The U.S. Attorney General is opening an independent investigation into law enforcement's response to the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Merrick Garland said the task force is being created at the request of Uvalde's mayor.
The review will be comprehensive, it will be transparent, and it will be independent. We will be assessing what happened that day. We will be doing site visits at the school. We will be conducting interviews of an extremely wide variety of stakeholders, witnesses, families, law enforcement, government officials, school officials, and we will be reviewing the resources that were made available after in the aftermath. The review will culminate in a final report, which will include our findings and recommendations, and it will be made public.
Garland says he has been assured the team will receive full cooperation from every level of government.